What is the best flight deal you've ever found? After this trip, I know exactly how I'd answer that question. Today I'm flying 13 hours in Finnair's unique new business class seat that doesn't recline, going from Copenhagen to Doha and back. I'll be giving a full review of the experience, including what makes this seat so special, my thoughts on the in-flight dining, including the best breakfast I've ever had on a plane, the service from the cabin crew, and I'll tell you the story of how I booked this insane deal for just 20,000 Avios points each way. I'd arrived into Copenhagen first thing in the morning on a British Airways Club Europe flight, and after spending a good few hours exploring the city, I made my way back to the airport early afternoon for some lunch in the lounge. The Finnair lounge experience in Copenhagen isn't anything as fancy as what they have in Helsinki, where they have a sauna, but you do get access to the Eventyr lounge in the non-Schengen area of the airport. And the lounge was a really nice space to spend a few hours. Loads of natural light from the windows that overlook the tarmac, so you get plenty of opportunities for plane watching. And whilst there wasn't a huge selection of food, everything they had was really tasty. And there was a good selection of drinks with beers on tap, soft drinks, and free pour spirits. And this coffee machine also made me a pretty good mocha, which was what was needed initially to just wake me up a bit. For my lunch, I grabbed some Thai chicken curry. I didn't want to have too much because I didn't want to fill myself up before the flight. So I then spent the rest of the time in the lounge just relaxing, drinking some rum and cokes, watching some Netflix, and watching the planes take off. Eventually, I did see the arrival of the plane that I was due to be leaving on, and not too long after that, we were called over to the gate. It was all a bit busy at the gate area. It took a while to get everyone checked through, and there was quite a long wait in this seating area before we were allowed to board. But around half an hour or so after sitting there, we were finally allowed through. Boarding the plane and turning left, I made my way right to the front to seat 1L. First impressions are that this is a massive, comfy seat for a business class seat with tons of space. I threw my bag up in the overhead storage, got myself comfortable, and started to have a look around the seat. I think this might be the comfiest business class seat that I've ever sat in. Okay, so quick tour of the seat. I love the way they've got the little timeline of when everything's happening on the flight, so I know when the meals are. In the cubby here, we've got my slippers and all the bedding. There's another little storage area here. Got my tray table with the fizz on the go. More storage in here. My earphones there. So looking around the seat in a bit more detail, on the tray table here you'll notice there's this wireless charging pad, which is brilliant. It worked really well the whole flight. I love the fact that these slippers are provided. I'll come onto those a bit more a little bit later. And this storage cubby here in the seat, you've got your remote control for the IFE, and you've also got two different charging ports, USB and USB-C. To the left of the IFE screen, you've got this other storage cubby. I ended up using this for my tablet. And then in the storage that's near the foot cubby, you've also got a bottle of water, and there's two different storage sections there. Above the seat, you've got individual air vents, and these were really helpful because the cabin itself was kept quite warm. So being able to adjust that was very much appreciated when trying to sleep later. Pre-departure drinks were handed out, and I went for a glass of fizz in the quite unique glass that they offer. Takeoff was delayed, so it gave me a good amount of time to peruse the menu. The meal service starts with 2 small cold plates, and then you have your choice out of 3 warm plates. This is followed by cheese and your choice of dessert. On the drinks menu, there's 1 champagne, and then there's multiple white and red wines, as well as a rosé and some dessert options. And then the soft drinks, beers, and cocktails. Let's take a quick look at the IFE. First off, it's incredibly responsive and it's got a lot of great features, including these cameras. There's also a great interactive map, and a really wide selection of films and TV shows. But I think what impressed me the most is just how responsive this screen is. It really takes the lightest touch, and it's probably one of the better screens I've seen on any plane ever. Shortly before departure, the safety demonstration was played, and it was time to put on the 3-point seatbelt. And with that, we started to taxi towards the runway. I loved having the onboard cameras as it gave me a lot of options when looking at takeoff. I could look at the forward view on the camera and then look out the window for the side view. It was a beautiful clear afternoon in Copenhagen, which gave us some great views on takeoff. Once up in the sky, it was time to get myself comfortable, so I kicked off my shoes and grabbed the included slippers. I then broke out the headphones to try out the onboard entertainment. I've got to say, I was really impressed with these headphones. Noise cancelling worked well and they were super comfortable. It would soon be time for the onboard service to start, so I pressed this button to release the tray table. And that folds out like that. The tray table can also easily be moved out of the way to give you direct aisle access. Warm hand towels were handed out, and this was unfortunately followed by what was a cold bowl of nuts, but it's nice to have something at least. For my first drink to accompany this, I went for their signature cocktail, the Northern Blush. It was nice and refreshing, a bit disappointing to see that it was just a pre-mixed can, but a nice and refreshing way to start things off. And it wasn't too long after this before the food was served. The two cold starter dishes were a potato salad and a salmon roulette, and I actually decided to double up on the salmon and went for that for my warm dish as well. Because of our delayed departure, we were eating a lot later than I was expecting, so I was quick to get stuck in. So I've tried a little bit of everything. It's all really nice. This potato salad here, all cold but really nice and fresh. There's this kind of salmon-y thing. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but it's like a cold salmon-y paste type thing. So yeah, nice hot salmon meal. Really, really tasty salmon, just really, really good. So yes, all very eloquently put by me in the moment there. I think to summarise, I would just say really nice portion sizes, not too much, not too little. I was nice and satisfied. Everything just tasted really fresh and really, really nice. The main was followed up by a cheese course and also a small dessert. Again, everything really high quality, and I much prefer high quality, smaller portions like this. I just didn't feel gross afterwards like I sometimes would do if I was having a really, really big meal. And to accompany the food, I opted for another glass of champagne. I thought the champagne on board was really nice quality too. And I ended up eating everything they gave me, which is quite rare for me on a plane. There's often bits of the meals that I'm not a fan of, but I really did enjoy everything they served up. After the meal, I pushed the tray table aside and went to check out the bathrooms. Again, really love having the slippers, as it means I didn't need to put my shoes on to go into the toilets. Some decent quality hand soap in there, but other than that, nothing too fancy. Pretty small toilets, as you might expect from an A330. And back at my seat, I decided to give another cocktail a try, this time going for the ginger mule, which again was another really refreshing drink. Now, getting back to the seat itself, as mentioned at the start, this seat has no mechanical recline. So how do you make it lay flat? Well, you turn that handle to get one part of the seat up, and then this button here flips up the remaining section to give you a full flat area. But the backrest that you're leaning against doesn't move at all. The only way to give yourself a recline in that position is to use the two cushions provided. I was really sceptical about this seat before I got on board, but I actually found it brilliant. But yeah, this seat is super comfortable. It's really private as well, even though there's no door. Like, you just have complete privacy in here. It probably helps that it's a really quiet cabin. There's barely anyone in here, but it's just really nice and comfy. I was worried that not having the recline wouldn't be good, but using the cushions and everything, you can properly recline back. I've got my feet up, watching a film, having a drink. It's just great. I really do think it's hard to beat the amount of space you get in this seat compared to other business class seats available. And for me, I love being able to sit partially upright while still having my legs fully up. A lot of other seats you need to be fully reclined before you can even reach the leg rest, so that's a really good thing I like about this. And whilst I'm relaxing, let's take a bit of time to look at the provided amenity kit, or travel kit as Finnair are calling it. And to be honest, it's a bit disappointing, you don't get a huge amount in here. There's an eye mask, which is actually really good and comfy, I will give them credit for that. You also get earplugs, and a toothbrush and toothpaste. I think they do claim it's for environmental reasons to not give out more, but it does feel a bit cheap, although you could request a lip balm as well if you wanted that additionally. The crew on this flight were absolutely brilliant, always keeping me well stocked and any food or drinks that I wanted. I did take a brief stop over to the galley to see what snacks were available there, and after I'd grabbed those, they still kept coming around to me and offering me more, so I had plenty of chocolate available, and loads of fresh fruit. And it was all really good quality fruit. I really did take advantage of having quite a lot on both journeys today. And with a couple of hours still left to go in the flight, I decided to get the bed set up to properly relax. There's a good sized mattress topper that covers all the way to the end of the cubby, and whilst it's not the thickest padding, the bed itself is really comfy already. There was also a nice soft blanket and the 2 pillows. And there really was quite a lot of leg space here in the cubby. Overall, a really good bed setup and really great for sleeping on your side as well. And when in bed mode, there's this additional seatbelt available to go over your legs, but that seatbelt was a bit tight and restrictive and undermined the space that you had in the bed. About an hour before our arrival, we were served this sandwich. It was mozzarella, pesto and tomato. It was nice fresh ingredients, but the bread wasn't the best. It had been in the fridge for a while. It's probably the weakest part of the onboard catering that we had. Everything else had been so nice and fresh, and this just didn't quite hit the mark. But thankfully we would soon be arriving into Doha, and I knew I'd have some great food waiting for me in the lounges. We did have to circle for a little bit before we were able to come into lounge, but that did give us some great opportunities to view the city. We landed and parked at a remote gate, which meant that we did have to wait for a bus to come get us. I did definitely appreciate though that they did have a separate bus waiting for us for business class, so we were soon on our way once we disembarked. It wasn't a fancy bus or anything, just your standard one, but it was nice not to be crammed on with loads of other people. I'll not spend too much of this video on my time in Doha. I do have a separate video coming out featuring that, including a stay at the AirLounge Garden Lounge. So if you are interested in seeing what that's like, do make sure you're subscribed. But the next morning at 8 AM it was time to get back on board. We were on a different aircraft for the return journey, but it was still an A330, and we were actually parked right alongside the plane from the day before. There are 7 rows of the AirLounge business class seat, configured in a 121, and I was back in seat 1L. There was no pre-departure champagne available from Doha, but I did go for the blueberry juice, which was nice and refreshing in the morning. I got settled down into my seat and looked out the window to look at the aircraft that we'd arrived on, and then had a quick look at the menu. The breakfast cold plates were due to be some fresh fruits, some smoked salmon, beef and cheese, and on the warm plates I was really interested in trying out the French toast. The other meals available seemed a bit egg heavy, and it's very rare to get good quality eggs on a plane. I do find that breakfast is often the worst meal in business class, so I was looking forward to trying the French toast. I thought that was something that would probably be a bit better than usual. We departed with a very slight delay, but were soon up in the sky, checking out some great views of Doha and the coastline. I hadn't got a huge amount of sleep overnight in Doha, so I was quite looking forward to having my breakfast and then relaxing in bed mode. Unfortunately, there was some initial quite bad turbulence when we first took off, so that did actually push out the starting of the meal service by about an hour or so. However, I just took the opportunity to look out the window, enjoy the views, and made myself nice and comfortable in the massive comfy seat. Again, I just love how much space there is in this seat. You can really stretch out. The first part of the onboard service was this smoothie that they came around with, which was really nice and fresh. And this was very shortly followed up with what was the best onboard breakfast that I've ever had. The French toast with banana and caramel sauce was absolutely delicious. There was the lovely fresh fruit. I had a blueberry cocktail, and it's great to have an actual decent cappuccino on board a plane as well. Very rare to get decent coffee on a plane, so very much appreciated. I didn't go for the salmon and meat stuff. Wasn't quite what I was in the mood for with how tired I was, but everything else was brilliant. And then I got myself into lie flat mode. Worth just mentioning some of these other buttons. That one I've pressed there is a do not disturb sign so that no one will bother you whilst you're sleeping. And then there's 2 buttons for the lights. This one controls the light in the footwell, and the other one controls the light that's over your shoulder. I turned off the lights, closed the window shades and put on my eye mask. And I had a really nice nap, maybe 2 to 3 hours. Really helped to nicely top up the sleep that I didn't get in Doha. I was feeling a bit peckish, so I went to check out the snacks in the galley. There's a good choice of things available here. I just grabbed some more fruit and a few chocolates. And then about an hour before landing, we were served a small snack. This was beetroot hummus with crudités, and it was also served with even more fresh fruit. I think this might be the healthiest in-flight meals I've ever had. And I do genuinely think that made a big difference to how I was feeling after the flights as well. I just felt quite good for a change. Often I'd feel quite sluggish after having a few drinks, eating a load of food and not getting too much sleep, but I actually felt great after this trip. But before we get back to Copenhagen, let's just talk about how I got such a great deal on these flights. As I mentioned at the outset, I paid just 20,000 Avios plus £40 in taxes and charges each way. Now Finnair charge 110,000 Avios for this return journey, so I paid 70,000 less points than I should have. I actually stumbled upon this deal when researching for a recent video on the best way to use Avios points. Whilst a lot of people just use their Avios for British Airways flights, I wanted to illustrate how you can often get a better deal with some of their one-world partners like Qatar and Finnair. So I entered a few dummy bookings, found this one and thought it was a really great priced flight to prove that point. But someone was quick to call out in the comments, this wasn't just a great deal, it seemed like it must be an error. It was then posted about from there into various frequent flyer forums, spread to a few travel influencers, and I started to realise this deal probably wouldn't be sticking around for too long, so I quickly booked my ticket. It turns out that when Finnair recently adopted Avios as their frequent flyer points currency, BA had incorrectly priced this as a short-haul European flight. Now, as the word spread online and flights started to get booked up, it seems the error was spotted and is sadly no longer available. At 55,000 Avios each way, you'll now have to earn a few more points than before, so if you do want to know how you can earn more Avios, watch this video next.